half my kills are solo kills. I mean, that's up to you, man. I can't. Here's something to think about, okay? When it comes to anybody talking about what is valuable in the game, what is worthwhile in the game, whether or not something is worth it in the game, I remind you of this. There is no such thing as value. We make it up. There is no value in this universe. There's no meaning in this universe. There's no worth it in this universe without a person to give it. Without us, nothing in the universe is any more valuable than anything else. It takes a conscious mind with wants and needs to have value. Yeah, I'm talking about real life. Therefore, all value is man-made and usually personal. So when people talk about one sort of gameplay being worth it, when people poo-poo one thing over another, the experience is its own value. The lessons learned is its own value. The ISK earned is its own value. The bragging rights and the stories that you get from the event, those are value, or they can be if you give them value. If you give them value, it's something to consider. We often talk about value as if it's an absolute thing, just because, ISK is a measure of value that we can all agree on, or dollars or money, whatever your currency is. But you have to agree that all forms of money are made up. There's no reason why, Plex actually has a practical value in the game according to the lore, but most currencies are not valuable because of what it is. It's valuable because we accept that it is a token of exchange for our economy, right? So all money's made up. All value's made up. So make your own value, dude. Make your value being the magic school bus. Make your value be see every system in the game. Make your value be trying to find a Moloch. I don't know. But if you find that there's no point in this game, if you find that there is that it's boring and that you expect CCP to give you something to do, realize that that's what you are supposed to bring to the table. If you want a sandbox, you have to be willing to build some sandcastles. If you want that freedom, then with it comes responsibility. If we want to be the ones that do something, then we can't expect CCP to do it for us. This game has always been a self-motivated game. This game has never told you what goals that you need to pursue. That is your job. That is what you bring to the table. So if you don't have a purpose, it is you not doing your job yet. Just pointing that out. Now, you might not be able to find one in the game, and that's fine. But figuring out what it is that you want to do, that's you, man. Nobody else can do it. I can't tell you what you're going to be into. I can't tell you what niche is going to be good for you. I can't tell you what's going to be fun for you. The game's too broad. I can't tell you what's good. I can't even tell you the good way to make money, because it matters what you want to do. That's your path, man. That's what you're supposed to be doing here. Figuring out what you want to do. Figuring out what place you want to be in the universe. As a new bro, your first job is to just figure out what you want to even do. If you don't know what you want to do, you shouldn't be investing in anything yet. I mean, you can dabble in stuff, but I mean, big, deep investments, right? So I see people that pour themselves into some sort of efficient ISK method, regardless of how fun it is, because they want the ISK, because they think that whatever it is that they end up wanting to do, they're going to need the ISK for it. But the God honest truth is that once you figure out what it is that you want to do, you can figure out how to make ISK out of it. Don't put the cart in front of the horse. 1 second. People often tell me, like tier 1, tier 0 Abyss. I bring them through. Like these are new players or just new to the Abyss, you know, whatever. I bring them to the Abyss. They do tier 0, tier 1. They're excited. It's spooky. Like, you know, tier 0, tier 1, there's not, it's pretty straightforward, but for somebody who's never done it, it's pretty intense. So they barely make it through. They're like huffing and puffing by the end of it. They get out and then they go, how much did I make? And then they look at how much they make and they devalue their effort. And it doesn't matter how many times I explain to them, like, if you're doing tier 0, tier 1, you're not doing it for ISK. You're doing it because you're not good enough yet. You need to get good. If you want the ISK is in tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6. But you can't just jump there. It ain't enough to have a fit. You have to know how to fly it. You have to know what's going on in the Abyss. You have to know what target priorities there are. You have to know where your threats are and how things work and how to take advantage of the tools that are at your disposal. So yeah, when you first start out in the Abyss, forget about ISK. You're an alpha. You're using 2 million to 5 million ISK frigates. Who gives a shit? As long as you make it through like 2 runs, that pays for the frigate. 2 out of every 3 runs, that pays for the frigates. Or more. And just realize that you're not even, like, as soon as you're bored, as soon as you're able to get through a tier 0 or a tier 1 and feel like nothing, like, you're okay, yeah, all right, whatever. Like, as soon as a tier 0 or tier 1 is boring, just move up to tier 2. And then play around with that. And then when that's boring, although I recommend doing it at least 5 to 8 times just to make sure you get all the rooms, then you move up to tier 3. And then you're making money. But you never get to that tier 3 if you're not willing to do that tier 0, tier 1. You're not, if you expect one day for you to be able to have the capability of understanding the Abyss, you don't get there without flying in the Abyss. It doesn't matter how long you look at my cheat sheet. It ain't going to give you the answer. But if you have the answer, then the cheat sheet will help you remember it. You get what I'm saying? Like, new bros should focus less on the acquisition of ISK and should focus more on the acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge. That is your power in this game. ISK is meaningless. Asking how to get ISK before you know how to play the game is like asking how to get gold when you're level 10 in WoW. Well, the way to get gold in WoW at level 10 is to level up to max level and then try to earn your gold. Because anything you try to do at this level is going to be a monumental effort compared to something that would be trivial to you once you just get to the correct level. So the correct option is to just work on your progression and then you'll be able to do it. In the same way, if you're a new bro, like, your way of the way you make ISK is by learning the game and then capitalizing on what you've learned to figure out how to get ISK. More importantly, if any method of ISK generation that is told to you by another person is going to be less potential than the potential that you could have for something that you figure out on your own. Because the more people like to go to YouTube videos or like big things to figure out like what is the right thing to do, what's the profitable thing to build or make or do or whatever. And the thing about that is that, like, with the way that the market works, the way that the game works, the more people that are doing a thing, the more devalued that thing is. So you don't want to be doing the thing that everybody's doing. You want to find the thing that people don't or can't do. You want to find the niche that isn't filled. You want to find the thing that makes you passionate, that may not make other people passionate. You don't need the most ISK per hour. You need the thing that you can do for the most hours. You don't need it to be efficient and valuable. Or you don't need it to be the most efficient way possible. You just need it to be a way to generate ISK while you play the game. You're playing the game. That's why you're doing it. Do the things that you do because you want to do those things. And then ask yourself, how do I get to do this thing and make ISK? There is not a gameplay in this game that I can think of, and go ahead and feel free to challenge me. I don't think there's a single game style in this game that can't be sold to somebody. Or you can do it for some sort of or CCP. When you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. Exactly. And, if somebody says to you that mining isn't worth it, that they're just saying that it's not worth it to them. And they could be wrong. For you, your value is your own. How do you make ISK mining without an alt army? Actually, I've got a good answer for that. The good answer for that is, if you're just doing it in high sec, then a retriever or an orca or whatever, like you could just AFK it. At that point, it doesn't really matter because the whole point of that is that you actually are leveraging the massive amounts of hours, right? So it can be just barely efficient. You still get per day a pretty reasonable amount. That's one way to do it. But what I prefer is actually what we played around with yesterday, which is that I went into Poachfin and I filled up my prospect by 1/3, and I had 3.5 million ISK in my cargo, or in my ore, estimated. So the answer is, if you're solo, and this is the thing, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If you're solo, your best bet is to start scouring around and learning low sec. Go and look around, see where people are, see where people aren't. Once you can identify where people aren't, maybe move in some ventures and stick them there. Then anytime that people aren't there, you can just harvest it really quick, right? That's my point. The best way is going to be to carve your own path. If somebody else is carving it for you, it's not going to be as competitive. Ninja gas huffing. Poachfin, low sec, whatever. Low sec, there's a lot of systems in low sec. And this is what I'm saying, knowledge matters. If you just think of low sec as all just one blanket thing, or think of the danger as the rules, not all danger is created equal. Take your time. Spend a day in a T1 frigate or a Corvette. Hop in a Corvette and just start roaming around in low sec. See if there's any entrances or exits that are more dangerous than others. See if you can find a place that's relatively abandoned. I'll give you a hint. Look outside of the war zones. And when you find it, capitalize on it. Don't look for the thing that everybody's doing. Don't look for the most profitable way to do something. Look for the second most profitable way, because that's going to have a shit ton less competition.